But you had conflict? I don't believe it. What did you top out at max revenue when you guys were at the peak?
We were doing about 280 per month when I left
Wow. And then what happened after you left? They sold
in
it?
in 18 months ish. Yeah, I left just
18
before.
months?
Yeah.
That's insane. Welcome back to another edition of Outbound Fluff, No Sales. We're going to talk about why you should never build an agency. But this is not just a armchair expert episode. Ryan's going to share his story, background. He built and sold one, multiple. I've been on the inside of it as well. If you enjoy this episode, hit subscribe, hit like, let us know. If you hate this episode, please let us know why you hate it, because we love the haters. In the meantime, I'm Ronen Pessar. This handsome fella next to me is Ryan Reisert. We are the Outbound operators.
Haters gonna hate. The problem is we're not an agency, so we don't want to take on that business. And so like the thing that's trying to be solved here is like, how do you create a solution that allows people to get market validation or even outbound readiness validation before hiring reps? We're not in the position for that yet. Now, if we could get people in the community like a Connor or a Tony that we believe in and use them as a in-between status where we could set up the system and put them in there, then it fills the gap. It would solve the problem that we just talked about today for them. There's going to be a little bit of an investment up front to work with us, but it's going to solve the speed and insights and, you know, information they have that they're not going to get from some other fractional company or an agency who doesn't have the alignment that we have, which is like, we want you to be in a position to be ready to build and scale this in-house. That's not what an agency wants. An agency wants you to keep paying them as an outsourcer. Right.
Right. Why do you dislike the agency model so much? I know you've done it before, but why is it in your world something that you never want to do again?
Because I don't like having to sit there and work as an outsourced person at a company and have the same conversations we have every single day, even as an in-source company. It's the same problem around justifying the work that you're doing and fighting over fucking meetings and no shows and all this other stuff. Like it's really annoying. So that's one part of it. Like you have to have the internal ownership and let people see what works and what doesn't work. It's very difficult to do that as an agency because the agency doesn't feel like you're a part of the team and you're trying to drive towards what you really care about, which is revenue. So that's like a
Right. You're just selling
philosophical thing.
meetings.
Right.
Well, it's not philosophical. It's more than that. It's like in the trenches earned experience that when these companies are so myopically focused on just meeting set, they lose sight of all the peripheral value. And then it becomes unbalanced. So the only thing that matters in outbound for them is, did you set a meeting? Did it show up?
Right.
It's like one of our clients who kept saying to me like, yeah, but that didn't show. And I'm like, call him back, call him back. If he answered the phone, he had a conversation, he set a meeting, it's an activated lead. Have the AE call him back. So when the only thing that matters is the meeting, and in the agency world, that's actually more extreme and pronounced because you're in a transactional relationship,
Yeah.
99% of agencies anyway, where your value is delivering meetings that hold, not revenue, not qualified pipeline, not conversations, not insights through conversation with an account that would be a great target account, but you don't know anything about them. And that conversation tells you, oh, they're using a competitor for 9 more months. That's not valuable according to the meetings only principle. So,
Well,
yeah,
that depends on how you set up the agency, but it's difficult to have that trust and relationship with the other things if you're operating as an outsourced third party vendor. You're not a part of the company. So that's the one side of it. The other side of it is to build an agency, you have to staff resources and it's feast and famine. So in order for us to build an agency, we would have to have callers on payroll. And when someone churns, you have somebody that you have to keep paying regardless if you have work to be done or not. So you are doing
yeah,
well when clients are paying, but when people churn, they're not. So having the flexibility in our model right now, where when things are good, they're great. And if they're not great, they're still great because I don't have to worry about paying someone else's salary if a client decides that it's not a good fit for them. Right. So imagine if we were an agency and we staffed up and did the most recent client that ended up, we told them we shouldn't work with them. And then they decided to work with us and we went and find 2 reps. And then guess what? 2 weeks later, those reps are gone and they're dismantling the whole team. If we actually staff those people up, what are we going to do with those reps?
yeah. yeah, you're stuck. You got to let them go,
You got to
or you
go
got to
find, you
quickly
got to go
backfill.
find more clients. You got to go find more clients and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden you're taking on anyone and everyone. That's the other
Yeah,
part about running
and
an
you know what?
agency, which I've
This is
done
the
this.
interesting thing. This is the interesting thing about why you see a lot of these agencies now only offer email,
Right.
because you don't have the staffing problem. So
Mhm.
cold calling agencies are going to be really hard unless they're already massive, like Memory Blue or ISS.
Yeah, but
Or
even those agencies, if you actually dig into it, their margins are so razor thin. It's very difficult. They're big, but like they experience the same problem.
yeah,
And we did this. I've built several variations of this. It's easy to get to a few $1 million of annual recurring revenue as an outsourced agency because everyone and their mom will buy this.
revenue, not profit.
No, I'm talking about revenue. Like,
Yeah,
t-
with like what, less than 20% profit
200,
margin?
300, 200, 300K of MRR, monthly
Okay.
recurring revenue, or monthly revenue. I wouldn't call it recurring necessarily because some people churn quickly. That's the problem with the agency model. It's like 3 months, 6 months. If you do really, really well, they want to bring it in house, which again, they should. They
Yeah.
should. That's the point. That's what we would recommend them doing. If you don't do so well, they might fire you. There's also this pitting up against each other. We had this
Mm.
conversation with somebody recently, one of our clients that wanted to pit us up against another agency.
And we
Obviously,
crushed them.
we crushed them, but at the same time, it's like that stuff's happening
Yeah.
all over the place. And it's not even though you want to build these long term relationships, the outsourced sales development agency model is not meant for long term relationships. How many customers that are going to build outbound engines are going to work with you as an agency for forever? None, right? By design, they should be wanting to either it's working and bring it in house, or the company gets so well, there's like some sort of future outcome. But like, there's no model where they're going to always be with you, unless it's a big company that's going to use like an agency as like a backfill mechanism, which you can go find those from time to time.
You know what's
Right?
interesting? When I was working at Security Scorecard, at one point, actually, when I started 2017, I took over the SDR team 5, came in director level. So the CEO goes, "Hey, by the way, also I need you to manage these contracts." Okay, what contracts? Memory Blue, Inside Sales Solutions, and Operatics. I was like, "Oh, what are these?" Other outsourced SDR agencies. We have an internal team and an outsourced team? Yeah, we do. And I want you to manage the contracts. Also, I need you to whittle it down to one that we're going to stick with. What do
Yeah.
you mean we're going to stick with it? What kind of budget are we putting behind it? Every quarter we're going to put X dollars into it. I think it was like another $50 to $100,000 quarterly into this. Why are we doing that? Just to maintain some sense of ongoing continuity for appointments. Okay, we ended up doing exactly that. We whittled it down. We stuck with Inside Sales Solutions, of all of them. Still remember to this day. At that time, they were charging like $450 per meeting. Then new CRO comes in and he doubles down on that strategy and doubles down on the internal team. So it's like they're going to both grow the external agency and the internal team. So my team went, all 5 of those fellas, 4 of them got promoted. One of them took a job at a different company. I backfilled, and I had to grow the team to 18. Going from 5 to 18 internals. This is where I met Andrew Peck. He was my first hire. And then I had to manage now one agency. New CRO comes in, doubles down. He's going all in on spend, on outbound, more reps, CRs, AEs, sales engineers, everything. Spend is going through the roof. About a year into that engagement with the CRO, now it's like 2019 or so. I remember sitting down with him and I was looking at the Salesforce report of all the opportunities that the agency created. 98% of them were close lost. Ops created. Op created was done at meeting set stage though. So 98%. So 2%
That
became a
makes sense.
customer.
Yeah, makes sense.
2%.
It's like an
At
MQL
that
close, right?
time, the price doubled. We were paying about $900 a meeting. And that was the discounted rate. And when you looked at the spend, which then I analyzed, like here's the spend and here's what we saw, the company somehow managed to get back dollar for dollar. That was it. It
Yeah.
was literally just back, and it
That's
was lucky. One of the wins was a big 6-figure contract with a big account that basically covered the ass of the whole project.
yeah.
Without that one deal, the whole thing would have been a bust. And because of those numbers, the CRO said, "Yeah, spin it up again." Like, are you crazy? What do you mean spin it up again? Then we're entering end of 2019 into 2020, not knowing COVID was looming. And I had just convinced my CFO, CEO, and CRO at that time. We'd also just raised a mega round on like near billion company valuation. The team was now projected to be up to 40 internals. We had just expanded a new inside sales team, which we now call commercial sales reps. And then there were the field reps. I then had to take over the commercial team of 16 sales reps, plus oversee, now Andrew took over actually SDR team. So kind of help with the transition of him taking over. Long story short, I was like, we need a better way to like do activities. Hello, Dialbot, Connect and Sell, and Connect Leader. And then we went down the route of the parallel dialer. We learned the lesson pretty quickly. Initially, it spiked results. It was incredible. I was like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. But then just as fast as results spiked was just as fast as they dipped. So there was like this huge spike in like meeting set conversation. And then our connect rate plummeted from about like 4 or 5% down to sub 1%. So the reps had to do like 500-600 dials every day just to get the same number of conversations going. And we weren't replenishing lists nearly fast enough. So they were on like dial number 35, dial number 45 for the same prospect. And I remember looking at these reports and I'm just like, okay, agencies don't work. Parallel dialers don't work. Sales development is dead. And that's when I went to go do a startup.
Well, the net takeaway of that whole thing is if you don't sit down and do the math on what is attainable in your market and you fixate on an outcome that is not going to scale linearly, right? Like it's not like every time I make another investment, it's the same, like $500 per meeting as an example. It's not going to continue at $500 a meeting. At some point, if you take your entire addressable market and your target goal is to drive outcomes at $500 via the phone, right? You can maintain that for a period of time, but at some point it's going to get dramatically more expensive because of reach. And when companies don't understand this concept of how like this how big of your market needs to be in order to use the phone to acquire the customer, then you run into that problem.
Yeah.
Long story short, and all that stuff is, hey, if you're an agency in that world, imagine you were, what was the name of the agency you just worked with?
There was Inside Sales Solutions.
Yeah, Inside Sales Solutions.
And Memory Blue.
So Inside Sales Solutions, are they still around?
I think so. They were pretty big. I'd be shocked if they weren't. I'd be very surprised if they weren't still around.
I'd imagine they were extremely frustrated at the point when eventually you guys cut the agreement because they had all those resources, staff for the account, and then they had nothing to do with them anymore. And what happens is that account was awesome for them until it wasn't, unless they have especially as you get bigger. And that's the problem I have with just me personally running agency businesses is like it's a lifestyle business.
Yeah.
That if you're the founder of it, it's fine. You can get away with it and make some money.
No, they're still around. They're still kicking. 83 people working there now. I think that's gone down though.
You're never going to be in a position where you can find acquisitions. Again, I've sold some in the past, but you're not going to get massive outcomes for them because the revenue is just not sticky enough. The churn is always going to be there. And as long as you have an engine and stuff like that, it can work. It's not a bad business to have if you want to have like a little niche business, do a couple $1 million in revenue a year, take home a few $100,000 as an owner of that business. You can do that all day long. I just have no interest in that business. It's not for me. And I don't think it does anything for companies who are serious about trying to build a go-to-market program that's going to be predictable, scalable, and at the end of the day, bring the right experience to the market. You want to have internal people talking to your market, not external people. That's just my.
What was the name of the agency you built and sold?
The Sales Developers.
Sales Developers. How long did you operate it for?
A year and a half, almost 2 years.
Well, what did you top out at max revenue when you guys were at the peak?
We were doing about 280 per month when I left.
Wow. And then what happened after you left? They sold it?
In 18 months ish. Yeah, I left just
18 months?
Yeah.
That's insane. You grew it to 280. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's all short term. I'm sure none of those customers stuck with them beyond, a year or so, unless you get like one of these whales who just has all this extra budget to spend. Like
one of our biggest clients we had for a year during that time frame. It was similar to the scorecard experience you had. They assigned us to 100 accounts. That's all we had, and we were using Connect. So it was kind of crazy. And they had a dedicated rep for them, so they were spending like 25K a month with us in our model. But they only had 100 accounts. It was like the top 50 banks and the top 50 health institutes or something like this. So it was like hospitals and banks, and they wanted to break into them, and they were selling this big deal. Anyway, we we had an issue because it was connect and sell, but it was the same thing you're doing with scorecard, just calling the shit at everybody.
Yep.
Uh,
Well, it's funny
we were
as you're saying
outperforming
that.
their internal team, but at the end of the
Yeah.
year, they ended up closing like a $2.7 million deal. And it was like, oh, okay, it all worked with it. And then the whole company, the whole leadership left and it churned. But that was
Yeah.
that was an example of one of those accounts that we had. But that was one account paying us like 25K a month to do what we did. Most of them, the average deal was around 13.5. That's what our MR, like our monthly recurring was. So, but we had to scale up. I mean, I had like 50 people on the payroll.
Wow.
It was not. It was like break even, barely.
How did you hire 50 people and run a business like that in 18
We
months? That's
raised
insane.
we raised money.
Oh, yes. Right. Wow. What'd you do right after that?
I went to Connect to Sell.
That's when you went to ConnectSell after that. That makes sense.
Yeah, went to Connect to
I
Sell
didn't
because
know if that was right before or right after ConnectSell. It sounds like it could have been right after, but it was before. So
it
then
was
you
right
went
before. So
you went to
at
the
that
source.
agency, we were reselling Connect and Sell, Outreach, Zoom Info, a bunch of tools. We ended up acquiring a data company. It was called Get Steward. We had a little data cleaning tool, and we bought a little SaaS company called Sales Wolf. We were rebuilding a SaaS tool called Uplevel, which was freaking badass. It was like this whole
Wait, I
mission
know
control thing.
Sales Wolf.
We bought that company. We owned it,
What? That's wild. I
and
remember that.
it was just like a
I thought
little
Oracle
SaaS app.
bought them. What the heck? Okay.
Sales Wolf was a little micro SaaS from Australia. I don't think we're talking about the same company. It
It
was
was
a
like an
message.
account lookalike thing.
No. This was a
Oh,
message.
that's
It was
Data
a
Wolf that
script.
I'm thinking about.
Yeah, Sales Wolf was the name of this thing. It was a little script building tool, and we ended up buying it, and then ended up going and spending a bunch of money on engineering to rebuild this whole thing. We had a partnership with the Bridge Group. We were going to put their whole playbooks in there with
Damn.
Bertuzzi, and then there's some
Brian
issues with
Reisert. Who are you, Ryan Reisert? Jeez,
there
you're
was
like connected to literally everyone in the space.
there was an issue with the investor. We had some conflict. Rex and I had some disagreements.
Wait, you had conflict? I don't believe it.
Yeah. So I left. The company got sold right before the pandemic, and that's when I went to Connect. So, because while we were building that company, that's when I discovered what ultimately became Phone Leads. We were using Connect and Sell to make our first calls. We were using Phone Burner to do follow up. So we were using Connect and Sell basically
you created your own PRL using Connect and Sell, and then Phone Burner to increase your connect rates
for follow ups, running buckets.
Follow-ups. That's brilliant. Oh my god.
Went to Connect and Sell to say, hey, we should build this, and they already had everything integrated. Imagine Connect and Sell where you just click the button and it's running on the back end doing all the basically what Tightanex does now inside of Salesforce. Connect and Sell could have been doing that when I built Phone Leads. That's what I was trying to get them to do, but they didn't want to do it because they sell dials. And when you use scoring the right way, it will reduce the amount of dials you should put into the market by about 80%, because you're going to waste 80% of your dials. So they didn't want to do that. And I was like, well, let's start selling connect and sell connects, not dials. Everyone would have won, but they didn't want to do it. So I left and I built Phone Leads, sold that, and now we're here. Well, I guess we're here, and I acquired Callblitz, so we're here.
Yeah, I have one of those hats too. It doesn't fit my head is not as big as Ryan's, but I could put it on with the headsets. Also, you know what we should get? Can you get me a Callblitz yarmulke? That would be cool. So I have mine from my local Chabad, but
we should definitely get some branded yarmulkes.
I would totally rock a connected.
No, we need outbound. We need outbound operator yarmulkes because like all of our clients are in Israel. So
true. Yeah. Oh my god, but I don't think any of them are religious, man. Well, I think this is actually a really interesting path to go down in a future episode or two. We could talk about some of the core fundamental lessons you've learned along the way and kind of package it into like an outbound masterclass, totally free on LinkedIn. I was thinking that YouTube here on our channel. I was thinking we could do stuff like talk about the fundamentals, like workable list versus reachable list, and take people through some of the metrics that we take our buyers and prospects and eventually clients through so that they can understand outbound, so that our viewers here can understand, like, do you have a good system, a working system, and is outbound even right for you if you want to scale it or not? But man, this episode hopefully gave you some more understanding of where Ryan comes from as far as his background, a little bit on my background too. So you guys know that we've done it over and over and over again. We're not just talking from our asses or from our ivory towers. Like, we're operators. That's why our company name is Outbound Operators. We're in the trenches. We prefer to be there and operate. And if you're watching this and happen to have $1 billion fund and want some good operators to run sales for your portcos, maybe we should talk. I don't know if you can afford us though, but it's always a pleasure. Thank you for tuning in. I believe this is our 30th episode. I got to double check that.
Dirty 30.
Which is wild considering that we started this like, I don't know, a month and a half ago. So we're doing one a day. In the comment section below, drop down whatever kind of topics you want us to cover. Hit subscribe. In the meantime, I'm Ronen Pessar. With me is the one and only Outbound legend, Ryan Reisert. If there were like Outbound baseball cards, yours would be like Charizard level. Outbound Pokemon
You mean
cards.
Pokemon?
Yeah, you'd be like legendary.
I thought you were getting into like when you said baseball.
Ryan Reisert.
When you said baseball, I was like, am I like a Mickey Mantle? That'd be awesome.
Thanks for tuning in, y'all. We'll see you on the next one.
Peace.